Hi everybody, it's Dark Cardsman, and man, it's been a long time since I've made a video that I've actually legitimately forgotten how half this works, so hit or miss if the audio or even the video settings are even going to be close to correct to actually do this. Anyway, so I was digging through old code, and it's kind of started as I was trying, well, I wouldn't even say trying, I was talking to my boss about various things like past work I've done, and there was a couple other coworkers that were also talking about past work, and I mentioned for one of the job interviews I did, I made a pacman game. And I swear I had a video somewhere on my channel of this, but hard as I tried, there was literally no way I could figure out where it was or even show it off. So I decided, you know what, we're going to go dig up the old code, we're going to see if we can build it. Well, it turns out, when I originally made this, there's not even a build of it anywhere. There's not even build files, there's not even nothing. And then I started looking through the code and I'm like, you know what, let's make a video. Let's make a video and actually just look through this code and see how I wrote this literally 4 years ago. Before we even get to the code, let me just show you how this functions first. Now, keep in mind when I show this to you, I built this in I think about 10 hours. We actually can check this. So we have the initial commit. It was at like 10:52, and the working game looks like I did commit a lot more over a period of time. So I think it's like originally started, like I built out some stuff. I think I skipped a day. No, not even that. Man, my memory is horrible, but you kind of give me some credit. Like 2015, like I was just starting to apply to programming jobs properly, and I was like, hey, we're gonna do a whole bunch of these. I did a ton of these. Like very few of these are actually on my GitHub, but there's tons of these I built. Like tons of little prototypes of websites, prototypes of games, prototypes of networking systems, prototypes of applications, all that kind of stuff you do for job interviews. It's hilarious too, because not a single company had consistently the same thing. Some would do like website-based things where they would ask you, hey, answer these questions. Some would do it purely by phone, some would do it purely in person, and then some would be like, hey, build us something. We want to see how you code. The problem is, not a single person ever got back to me when I did this stuff, so I can't even tell which one would be better. But yeah. Oh god, there's like a ton of files too. One of the problems when you bring old stuff into new things, like there's not even ignore files for things. I love Gitcrack and I can just ignore things. But yeah, so let's look at the game. So, really simple game. Didn't put a huge amount of time in it. Barely got it working. Probably the reason I never got the actual in-person job interview. But it's a simple pacman game. I think it's originally, if I can even find the website for it, let's actually pull the thing up here. I think it was like kata pacman. See if I can find it. No, I don't want to translate things. And this is probably like a really bad idea just to start randomly Googling things. Yeah, I'm not gonna try that. Maybe I left a URL actually in the project itself. I would be impressed if I did. Let's get the game folder. Kicking myself, like being like, hey, I really should document things. You see all the code for the game I'm working on. All simple stuff. Man, there's nothing in here. Like, I swear I actually put effort into this project at some point, but don't even, like, you can see my name up here. Please tell me the game at least has something here as a main file. Man, got author tag and this is how you could tell I wrote this in Eclipse originally, because Eclipse does this. It does the author tag and a version number. You can get IntelliJ to do this, but it doesn't do this by default. It definitely doesn't do this date format. I don't know what that is. I can't even think of where this would be standardized, because I do dashes usually. I usually do month, day, years. It's American way, but even nowadays I won't even do that. I'll do like the actual month, because you can't confuse it. You can't have a British person go, oh, I think it's a day number, where that if you just actually put the 3-character abbreviation for the month, like November. But yeah, okay, so game, because we're getting distracted. I just got back from work, so my brain is scatterbrained. But yeah, so to start the game, you unpause and use the WASD keys to move around. There's a little bit of instructions, a little bit of movement. Animation is not the greatest, but it works. Like, this is a Java-based game that is only built using AWT and Swing, which is actually quite impressive when you think about it, because that means I'm not pulling in libraries, I'm not sitting there calling stuff to the graphics card and everything else, and I'm just moving around collecting dots, and if they actually hit me, there's a game over animation and everything. The AIs are really basic. I think they might be using Pathfinders. I don't remember what I put on him. The game also, when you try to close it, errors out massively, but you know, I don't really care because all kinds of things. And unfortunately, there's a dog sitting behind me trying to get my attention. So let's go through this quickly. So yeah, open a menu. Yeah, that never happened. We do have a test map, so I at least was thinking further enough ahead that I actually did want to try to build test maps for this. So we do actually have these maps that are generated, and I believe the map starts off by figuring out the size of it, and it figures a very basic format, like here's where everything's going to be, and I can't remember what any of this does. Like, these numbers are very much meaningless. Let's actually get in the game code itself. So this is kind of a mess of stuff up here. At least I was smart enough back then to document things. I kind of went out of that phase for a while and then back into it. It just wasn't a consistent thing. I'm actually really consistent about it to the point my coworkers have got annoyed, where I'll be documenting everything. They're like, why are you documenting even the private functions? It's like, because I want to know what this does when I get back 6 months later. But yeah, instantiate things, throw the map in there. Map gets read as a string. We then create a pacman, which I still haven't quite figured out if I like putting stuff in constructors for this, or if I like doing method-based things. I have yet to do that, figure that one out. Even when I'm working in JavaScript, I still have yet to figure out which I prefer. Because there's a reason for doing both. The reason for doing constructors is if you ever reflectively search this class, you won't accidentally instantiate something by scanning over things. Where if you put in the constructor, you kind of control that a little better. It still doesn't quite matter, because when you do instantiate, it still has to do both, or when you do certain things, it still does both anyways. It just, there's a whole thing with it that actually there's a reason for it. But yeah, so we get this, we then put the map name in there. So it doesn't pull in the whole map, it just pulls the name of the map in. Really need to refactor things. I'm trying not to change anything. My current plan is to get this built, get a version of it released, and then maybe change it. I don't know if I want to redo the game, but it'd be a fun little experiment. So we actually do load. We clear the map, clear dots, do all kinds. So the only thing this does is really, I would even clear the dots. Really, this should have been a clear function. And if anything, I should just reinstantiate the whole game class. It's a bad way to go about it, but really when you think about it, is if you want to guarantee there's not a single thing left over from your previous instance, just literally reload the whole game. It's really crummy. You try to want to avoid it. I even avoid it when I build applications for work. Even though my coworkers like to refresh pages, I won't do it because I know if you can get it to clear properly, the performance is better than just refreshing the page, depending on what you're doing. There's some cases where it's not, especially when you're in jQuery. You don't want to try to undo a whole bunch of things. You just literally do want to refresh the page, because then the DOM updates and does a whole bunch of stuff. But if you're in like React, for example, which is what I work on daily, there's a point to actually refreshing things. But yeah, so we run, we do the load. So this is probably shouldn't be called run. This should be called instantiate, and then the rest of this should be called like, or initialize, make start. Start would be a good method name for this. So we do load, we then open the GUI. You open GUI, what does this actually do? Control B. I've been using a Mac all day, so if I hit the Alt key, that's usually why. Back on a Windows machine, it's so weird. Ah, Kata pacman. Let's see if we can search this name. Because I was looking for Kata, but... Ah, Code Dojo. Yes. So this was, I think, the original specifications for it. Easy. I think they gave some source code, maybe? Doesn't quite look great, but I do remember it being like... Code Dojo sounds really familiar. But they may have updated their website since I looked at it earlier. Actually, we can actually figure this out. When was the last time you've done anything to your site? So this is... Man, I really wish websites would be in a better habit of actually putting their publishing dates in their documents. It used to be a thing, like back when I was messing with websites in like 2012, 2013, you would always see at the very top of the document the exact time it was built, what it built, who it was built by, like all kinds of information is up there. You can see the version tags and everything. The current sites I'm working on at work, we're actually trying to get in that habit of too, so we can actually get some usable information out of our site when we release something and we're not sure if we released it properly. A very big thing is we actually have an automated system that does our releases. But we were having a period of time where it would build the Docker image, put it out on the system to be fetched, then it would hit the actual system like, hey, turn off the current server and upload the new Docker image. And it would think it did that, but it didn't actually do it, so we thought we had published new releases, but we didn't, and we'd find out like 3 days later after QA's gone through things, and like QA's like, hey, we went to go test this and none of this stuff is here. And we're like, oh, well, it apparently didn't actually load. But yeah, so we can't figure that out from there. There's actually, like, if we probably go to another tab, there actually probably is a spot that'll tell us, but I don't remember where this stuff is. But yeah, so this looks like the original thing I kind of used way back that day. It's kind of cool that I put the name there, though. That's the only spot in this entire document that we find any information. Exit the menu. This is actually probably where I need to fix a lot of these events. So here's the control system. The control system is done via an anonymous class. Just so you understand, anonymous classes are really bad for performance, especially if you load them more than once. In this case, slightly okay. But this should have been a whole class by itself, and all of this should have been its own. Like, each of these should have been like an object. You would register with a key code and with an action is what this all should have been. Actually, these days, if I did this in Java 12, this would all just be functional stuff. I wouldn't even have done almost any of this with actual code. I'm actually kind of getting addicted to functional programming because it is cleaner. Like, not having non-side effect driven things is so nice. I'm saying this as a person who's been messing with object-oriented stuff for 11 years. But it's kind of the whole thing. But yeah. So code's not the greatest, this is not the greatest. I can tell, like, this is early days of when I actually coded things because I'm not handling anything appropriately. Things inside here are not documented very well. Like, the functions are documented, but this is more, I did this probably because I was trying to look good, rather than this is what the habit of how I actually coded. Wow, this is bad. Not only, like, in the newer versions of Java, we wouldn't even do it this way, but each of these should have been a function by itself. Some of it isn't bad, though. Like, we're doing it, the only reason I'm probably doing it this way is because this is how Minecraft used to behave for, like, the longest time, and I spent so much time back then working with Minecraft that I would replicate its paradigms, even though that was a bad idea, because Minecraft, still even to this day, is not coded the greatest. Like, no matter how much people like to say it's improved, you go through the code and you'll still find things that are just so bad. And even if you consider that the decompiler is going to mess the code up a little bit, you can still kind of see patterns where you know developers have done things really strangely. And it's not a bad thing. Like, you get a lot of self-taught people that just do things a certain way. But yeah, frame tick. This is actually probably what's crashing out the system. What I should have done is some kind of thread interrupter. Like, instead of exiting the program directly, what I probably should have done is interrupted the game loop thread when we exit. So this is definitely should have been done. There should have been some kind of condition up here that said, okay, we want to exit, which we do have a should exit up here. So there's some thought was put into that. Win ticks. Can we actually win this game? Like, I don't think I've ever tested that. Like, I gotta check this. I'm actually kind of questioning what kind of AIs I even have for these. Because they don't... I think they just move at random. I think it's what I came up with. I was like, oh, I can't figure out how to program AI in like 2 days. Because this is back when I knew how to make AIs, but I didn't know how to make AIs without a lot of time. Like, the AIs I wrote usually took like weeks to make. And this is like, oh, let's do this in like 2 days. No! Dang it! 4 dots! They're just all moving at the same... Yeah, that's how you can tell they're random. So I'm pretty sure there is actually a win state, because there is a win. Dot size equals... So we're just counting all the dots in the mesh. So I'm using a very object-driven way of doing things. Very much kind of how Unity does it. You just have a whole bunch of objects and you handle things. Entity list update. So we're handling all the entities, we're doing all the updates. I'm going to assume things actually have logic. Okay, so we're just doing basic draws here. I can't tell, is this AWT or is this... It's AWP. So we're using AWP to render everything, but the UIs I think are swing-based. It's hard to tell. I never did learn the difference between the two. Okay, so entities, tick, collide, move to, and the dot's an entity, right? Yeah. So we have this very prefab-driven system. And like, I can't name how many Java-based games that I've built, and I've replicated this like over and over and over again, and not really realizing it's just not a good way to do it. Inheritance turns out is not great. I've learned that the hard way. React has actually made the hugest different impact on that, where I've learned composition is just absolutely godlike. If you can get a good composition model down where you're not doing things in weird ways, your code becomes so easy to reuse, so easy to test. It's not hard to mess with anymore. Unfortunately, I have a tendency to still do this when I'm working with Java. So we got our monster. Move to. So it knows how to move two things. Give best direction. Getting best path. Do I actually printing all this out? Oh yeah, the mobs actually are printing logic out. Should have gave them names. I think the actual Pac-Man game, the one that was actually built and produced for like what, the Atari or something, each of the ghost has a name and has a different AI. They all actually do behave slightly different. There's a whole thing to it. I tried to replicate that at one point for this. I think I decided that was not a good idea. Too much time. Best direction equals none. Can move to collection shuffle. Collection. We're shuffling here, but then we're shuffling down here. We're then doing best direction. But if we get none out of here, we're shuffling it anyways. And I really should have done like some kind of vector system for this where I could have done ads and everything, because doing your ads down here is annoying. It's more performant though. I'll give it that. What we're doing. Did I actually build a Pathfinder? Path contains wall. Ah, yeah, because I tried to make it avoid walls and stuff, but I never did make a version that had walls. Do I actually have a system that tells me what the game map is? We have a game board. Remove walls, generate edges. Contains a wall. God, I actually have code that looks almost the same. Oh wow, that is a mess there. 0, 1. Why though? Like, why check for the character and then be like, I'm gonna turn it into a 0. I could just do integer parse and then just place exactly. So 3s are monsters. What are 1s? Like, none of this is documented. What is a wall? Walls are 1s. What are 2s and 3s though? Oh, 2's a dot. Okay, that makes sense. 3's a monster. What are 4s? This must be before I learned how to use constants. And by learn, I mean built the habit, because even before 2015 I knew all these concepts. There's just a difference between knowing something and then making sure you use it. Like now the code I write for work is almost always 100% unit tested. Like that habit took so long to build, but it's just so nice being able to load your code up and going, hey, here's exactly where it's broken when you make mistakes. And having it all automated, so when your coworker comes in and tries to write code, and they're like, oh, I'm going to just change this thing like 5 layers up, and it breaks everything down all 5 layers, or it just breaks something like randomly layer 2. It's great. Show message. Failed to find map. Failed to find map. I got some messages. I got some basic error handling. Splitting the line. Line split. Regex. Yeah, so like, if we were to make a better version of this, we would use regex to handle. Well, I don't even know if using regex is worth it. You would just char read this. You wouldn't even need this up here. This is useless. We can do a count of everything. We can count how many lines we have. We can count how big each line are. I believe I do have some code I built for the one coding Christmas event that happens every year. I think it's like Advent Code. I have examples of stuff we can do for this. You know, actually, that'd be a kind of cool thing. Advent Code's coming up pretty soon. We should do videos for those. That'd be neat. I'm just rambling for 20 minutes, but you know. Yeah. Game frame? Whew. Yeah, I think we've gone through this long enough. So basically, this code could use help. I think it would be kind of fun for us to get back into doing this. So give me a good excuse at least to start making videos again, because after not doing Minecraft anymore, there isn't a lot really to do. But yeah, I'll see you guys later, and thank you for watching me ramble as I go through my code.